This week's episode is sponsored by White's Beaconsfield. White's Beaconsfield is the #1 company in the UK to brighten up your smile at a very affordable price. Get your perfect smile today using code AGJamesEnglish at checkout for a 15% discount on all products.
Whitening kit from White's Beaconsfield. I'm on day 5 out of 7 and my teeth are looking white.
So it doesn't contain peroxide, so it's very, very safe for you to use on your teeth. It doesn't cause any sensitivity, and I've literally got the most sensitive teeth.
The most affordable product, works like a dream. Look how white, with no filter, no sensitivity, and it is just one of the best that I've ever used.
Like, that's 3 days. It's crazy.
You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications button so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live.
In institutions, I've had one Christmas in 37 years. And since I was 12, which is how many years? 43. So you've got to see that out of 43, I would have had to have spent 40 or 39, 40 in custody, in an institution of some kind. So it's a bit hurtful for me to go over this, but I think, it's time that the public knows exactly what, abuse is and the effects that it can have on you. I don't think you're going to like hearing this, but I'm going to tell you because, I want people to know. I haven't got no shame and guilt no more.
What was your biggest turn you ever done outside?
Oh yeah, the out near opposite the Albert Hall.
Yeah, was that £1 million it's worth?
Yeah. The whole crowd's watching and I've put one and then it was bending the tool. It wasn't the best one. So while I had him like that, I put that one back in my pocket and pulled out the other one.
Bigger one? A
bigger one, James, sadly. And because I was hurt. So that's the realities of prison. This is what happens day to day.
Boom, we're on. Today's guest, we've got Yammy B. How are you, brother?
Big up, big man James.
Good to see you.
And you too, boy.
What do you want me to call you today, Yammy, Samuel?
Which one do you want?
Both.
Both?
Yeah.
We can do that.
So it's two different kinds of characters.
Samson and Yammy.
Yeah. So a man who's from London.
Yeah.
Spent nearly 50 years in prison.
Yeah, institutions.
You know a lot of big hitters, people that's been on here as well.
Yeah.
You're out now, the longest you've ever been out.
Yeah.
Doing well, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
We spoke a few times now.
Yeah.
Getting a laugh.
Yeah, James.
First of all, how are you?
I'm in a real good place, and I have been month by month. I just seem to be getting better and better spiritually, mentally, because, I'm like a kid, really relearning stuff. I'm good at all the big things, but the little things, I'm falling short on a little bit that I have to do for a longer period of time before I get full adjustment, but I'm not rushing. And I'm just looking forward.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can do is look forward to life. No. Always go back to the start with my guest, brother.
Yeah.
Where you grew up and how it all began.
Bow Road. I think it was the last time the Bow Bells rang, right? And didn't stay long and moved to West London about 1 or 2. My earliest memory was being in foster care because my dad apparently stabbed my mum and ended up in Brixton prison. Right, so I was in foster care, I think, for 9 months or something, and then he came back out, and we moved to West London, which would have been Ladbroke Grove.
So you were in the system for a very young age?
Well, yeah, my memories of that. Apparently, my older sister used to tell me that I used to get unnecessary smacks from the foster woman. But I was thinking, how could she remember that? But anyway, yeah, from that, Ladbroke Grove, yeah, I was in the heart of it. I got my schooling down there. It wasn't really a happy home, to be honest. I can't really look back on too many fond memories. We used to go on holidays to Butlins, Barry Island, which is in Wales. My mum was from Newport Gwent. My father was Indian. And I quickly identified in where I was living that, you know, from an early age, I wanted to be black. And I started, you know, mixing in, and I always used to hate my colour. And yeah, it was starting from there. I was always, even before I went into care, I was always the little one that everybody would say, do that, do this, do that. So that wasn't just because of going into care, I don't think. I think I always had that that people-pleasing thing to some degree, but obviously I was a child then. But no real memories up until we moved from Ladbroke Grove to Lisson Green Estate, which is near the Edgware Road, which is North West 8. And we got to Lisson Green when I was about 7 or 8. We used to do the normal things that kids do, run outs and whatnot. But there always seemed to be problems with mum and dad. My dad never really used to say much. No, proud Indian man who never really spoke to anyone. My mum was more, you know, like me, and you, if you like, James, who talked to everybody. And quite early, I used to notice that he used to hit her, and it always used to be at certain times at night.
Drinking?
No, there was a hidden secret, but that I didn't know in them early days. And you know, that started very rarely at first did I used to cotton on, but, you know, being a mummy's boy, I always used to want to protect my mum. So no stealing, no getting into trouble, schooling all right, good at English, good at maths and things like that. And yeah, once we got to Lisson Green, things just changed. He was hitting her at night, and I was getting up in the night, waiting for the nighttime call, because it was always a certain time that I would hear her crying in the bedroom, and then I would just open the door and go in there and then get a beating off my father with a slipper or the belt, because obviously he was upset that I was trying to protect mum. But yeah, that developed for a little while. I was finding it hard to go to school and things like that. I felt like the only one in school that was in care them days. Oh, no, sorry, this is before care. Yeah, sorry, James. Yeah, so the build-up leading towards care. It's always a bit hurtful for me to go over this, but I think, you know, it's time that the public knows exactly what, you know, abuse is and the effects that it can have on you in later life. But anyway, yeah, we went on holiday. They were falling out. He was hitting her a lot. I was crying at school. And we went on a trip to Barry Island with my godfather, Mr. Hall, who was like a carer for us and mum, a man from Hull, lovely, lovely man. And we went there first. Mum and dad were trying to patch up their differences and came about 2 days later. But they started fighting whilst we were on holiday for that week. So they decided to go back early so as not to affect our holiday. And it was on the way back that my dad had a stroke while he was driving. And obviously the ambulance had to come, and, you know, it was touch and go whether he was going to live and all that. We got the news while still at Barry Island. And then we got the news that my mum had taken an overdose. And that was around about the 9 and 10-year-old mark. And when we came back with Mr. Hall, there was no one in the house to look after us apart from Mr. Hall. So I went to the hospital with my sisters, but I was more concerned with my mum.
Did she try to commit suicide?
It probably felt like it. big man. But, you know, that I was staring. I'll never forget the feeling I had, like I didn't mind if my dad died. And I was more concerned, like crying, because my mum was, you know, in intensive care and whatnot. And I remember just thinking to myself, I hope my mum lives and I hope that he dies, kind of thing. It was really quite deep. But after a few days of them being in hospital, sorry, James.
That's okay, brother. Take your time.
After a few days of being in hospital, the social services came round to the house, and there was pulling and shoving everywhere, because obviously it's been, someone signed over, I can't remember which one who signed over the care order to go into there, but I'd never forget the screaming. The neighbours were in, there was a lot of crying, you know, and but we had to go, and we was all in our pyjamas and nighties, the three of us, and we went in a car. I'll never forget, cold night, James. And you're standing on the doorstep outside a children's home. And, you know, waiting for the door, not knowing what to expect. First time you've left, you know, your home with your mother. And the door opens and they invite you in and try and make you feel as secure as possible. And that was my first taste of institutions.
How old were you?
About 9 or 10.
So still only a young boy,
Yeah.
to then get took away from your parents and then getting put into
Yeah.
a home.
Yeah.
And then, I know we spoke earlier, but what age you were getting abused in there sexually?
Yeah, I'm afraid so, big man. From 10 to 12, right? So I'm in the office, I'm sitting in the chair, right? A lady is there, a nice member of staff, right? Says to me, it's about time that you learn about the birds and the bees. And I said, oh, what do you mean? She goes, you know, you got to understand that, you know, you're going to develop and change soon, and maybe you need someone to talk to. And I said, well, who? She goes, oh, I've already spoken to the manager and he will help you with this because you've got no father figure there. So I agreed. And slowly but surely, James, I don't think you're going to like hearing this, but I'm going to tell you because, you know, I want people to know I haven't got no shame and guilt no more. And it's my story. And, you know, I want to shed light on a lot of the stuff that's coming out now that's related to the 70s and all the things that were swept under the carpet. So it started that way. And once a week, twice a week, you know, you come out the bath, he wants to dry you down, do all that kind of, that nasty stuff. And then quite quickly I thought something was wrong, you know, with the fiddling about. Oh, you haven't developed pubic hair yet. Da, 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 da. But anyway, big man, it got more serious, right? He started to come into the room at night, right? So it was that same time at 9 o'clock, and the fear and the anxiety that I used to feel when he used to come into that room, because it would always be around about the same time while the other children are sleeping. And I could feel my face going red, you know, like when you're trying to pretend you're asleep so he doesn't come in and touch you and take liberties, big man. But sometimes, you know, he used to catch me unawares and come, and, you know, I found it very difficult to resist and say no. You know, I didn't really know any better, but I knew there was something wrong. And then there was, you know, walking down the fire exit too, because his flat was on the premises, and they walked me down and says, oh, maybe you should come and stay down in my room. And on that one time, I showed uncomfortability, and he panicked and then brought me back up. But, you know, the abuse continued and got worse and worse. And then, as well as that, it's very important for the public to know that, you know, like when you go to school and you've got to do the school report and your parents come to see how you're doing in all the classes, and used to happen once a year. He used to come there as my guardian and like be a pretend father, if you like. And I always remember standing there. I didn't like talking to the tutors. It was like standing there and thinking they don't know. And I used to want to resist going into, because I didn't want to be in his presence and that, James. And the other time, I was a nippy footballer, both-footed, a bit messy like when I was smaller, you know, really, really jinky. And I was on Watford's books. I was playing the same forward line as Mark Steen and Richard Cadet. And, you know, I got there. Wally Downs was the scout back then. And I'd done a couple of training sessions with him. And I was playing also for Barnet District, which would have been on Sunday League, as well as the school team, which was Saturdays, I think. So all these football things were happening, even though I was very small for my age. And one time, I only thought about this the other day, James, they never had a referee on a Sunday League, but that man was from Plymouth and he was a football referee. Interesting, when I look back now. Some of the other stuff I'm going to touch on, but my manager said, oh yeah, but your guardian, he's a referee, do you want to get him? But I didn't want to get him. So they phoned the children's home on that day because there was no referee, and he came to referee. But I'll never forget it, because every time I got the ball and I was chopped down, he used to blow up for a foul for the other way. So I remember after the game, he used to say to me, oh, you'll never be anything. So if anything, I was losing my confidence.
Yeah, he was breaking.
But he was breaking me down.
Yeah, dirty bastard.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's things like that you remember. The referee and the school report. You know, it was like the boogeyman coming in at night.
Yeah.
I used to lie there thinking, and then I wouldn't want to go into school. And then after a year or so, James, I was with another person in the children's home, and I told them. And they said, you've got to tell the deputy. So the deputy's flat was on the premises as well. So we gone into her flat. Lovely, lovely lady. Was deeply disturbed when I told her. And I thought she believed me. And I think she did. So when I told her, there's obviously a big thing now coming out. He's not coming out of his flat because there's got to be a hearing at Westminster. Social Services ran a big table. I remember the names of the people there, funny enough. I thought about it the other day and I remembered. But I'm not going to say nothing here, big man. And I sat around the table and all of them were writing everything I said down. And they said, I could see by the body language that, you know, they had the pen and they were sitting there and he was tapping like that. Like he was saying, I don't really want to do all this. So I got the feeling, even though I was so young, at 12, that they weren't interested. So I was feeling that at that young age. So I've gone back to the children's home. He come out one morning in dark glasses and not showing his eyes. And another member of staff said, that's down to you, that is. You know, he doesn't want to come out and work at the moment until all this thing has been sorted out. So they made me feel like a liar as well.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. That anybody that doesn't take an interest in a kid telling you that they've been abused is probably a paedophile themselves.
Yeah.
And it's so scary. The amount of people that have come on here that have been in prison or had addiction issues have been abused or at some stage in their life. It's because your life for the get-go has been in a household full of anger, frustration, tense all the time, and then going through the children's home. Listen, brother, for even opening up and speaking your story for other people watching, it gives other people hope. What home was this?
That was Portishead House, Brunel Estate, still there today.
And this guy still living? Do you know?
Don't know. If he would have been about 40, 50, and I was 12, then unlikely.
Yeah.
Probably ended up, it wasn't, you know, like with all the knowledge that I've got now, especially with, you know, all the stuff that's coming out from the 70s where we know already it was swept under the carpet, they must have gone on to commit other crimes, or, you know, they were breeding grounds now, I realise, children's homes, schools, football. You wouldn't be the only
one. I think if he's working in a children's school, vulnerable kids, it's a prime target for paedophiles to work, because if people like yourself are going and telling your story, they're going to believe you, and then going and work with the school boys at football and stuff. People need to be vetted more. They need to get background checks to understand. But again, there's so many people in higher powers that are controlling this shit, and it's fucking so scary, the amount of vulnerable kids that are getting took away, abused, even killed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Which is why I'm going to be a great campaigner for Save Our Children.
Yeah,
I've already got
fair play,
contacts,
brother.
but James, you know what? Let's get it out of the way, because you know it's I wanna let it all out, and that geezer, the tall one, he was like 6'4", 5. The bastard was, you know, 6 foot odd. So, not seeing him for a couple of days. Not wanting to sit at the dinner table because they're making me feel like, oh, look what you've done to one of us kind of thing. And one morning, I didn't want to go to school. So I had my Leeds United bag on my shoulder and I said, no, I'm not going. Because every time I kept going into school, I kept crying. So anyway, that morning, he said, oh, you're going to school. And I said, no, I ain't. And he lifted me up out of the chair, opened the front door, had me in one hand, opened the door with the other, and basically dropped me on the balcony outside. I remember falling, and I remember all the other kids were getting ready to school. They were laughing. But on this day, James, I weren't having it. I said, all right. So I went into the school bag, got the little compass out that you used to draw circles with, the metal one with the little pin at the end, and I pressed the doorbell, and he come rushing out like he was going to do something to me again, and I run straight at him and poked him, you know, numerous times and that, you know, and somehow I got back out there because he fell down onto the chair, so I got back out, and that was the first time I noticed adrenaline.
So you plugged him?
I've done him. I've done him.
Yeah,
but
great.
James, it was the feeling of the adrenaline, that high adrenaline that I got when I jumped on the school bus. Yeah. I'll never forget. I was thinking, see, I can fight back.
Yeah.
And that was it.
This could have potentially been up to 11, 12, 13 years of build-up of being scared, vulnerable, accepting nasty shit to then exploding. Was that the start of the violence that you went down?
Yeah.
Were you violent before that?
I was a little sweet boy. Everyone used to protect me. I was too little and too cute to get into any fight. Everybody would protect me. So I never really, you know, people could say things to me and then you jump in for me. I say, leave him alone, you know. A lot of them were ladies, actually, that stuck up for me. A lot of people's mums. There was a little bit of love. You know, with dinner come round, bring little Sammy round, let him eat some proper food and that. People's, you know, Jamaican, St. Lucian, Dominican, you know, lovely parents for some of those kids that I was going to school with or being around the estate. But I had some good friends in that estate as well that I used to play football with because we had the five-a-side complex across the road and that. I looked back the other day and I remembered I'd been getting friend requests from back then that I thought I'd never see some of these guys in the estate. A lot of them were upset about seeing, obviously, the Atwood show and seeing me go on there because, you know, they lost me hundreds of years ago. Yeah, and
a long time.
They came to get me in the school, James, right? And they come into the classroom, the police, and said, yeah.
So was this after you'd done him?
This is after I'd done him, right? So they brought me to Harrow Road Police Station and I sat there and Mr. Hall came, the great godfather, the War II veteran, right? Lovely, lovely man, James. Did everything for me, you know, in them early days when I was down, really. And he said to me, don't admit to nothing. He told me. And I still had the social worker there saying, look, the best thing to do is things. So in the morning, juvenile court, and he's in the court with me as my, you know, guardian looking out, because obviously mum and dad weren't allowed no contact with them after everything that happened at home during that stage. Because you've got to remember, my mum was an alcoholic after us going into care. Remember, I used to have to sneak out the window of the children's home to go searching over Bayswater to see her if she comes out the pubs and then walk home all alone, because I did love my mum and I didn't like people taking liberties with her because she was really soft. And when she drank, it was that kind of thing. But I never got to saw her. I think they always used to tell her I'm outside and she used to go out the back way. But
you try to still protect her.
But you know, the God thing, James was there from early on. I remember I used to walk all the way back to the children's home, my little hideout with the window to get back in. And one night I got back to the hideout because I used to use the mat to hold the door open so that it didn't close, because it was one of those doors, if you shut it, it just... But on this night I come back... You
couldn't get back in?
I couldn't get back in. So this bastard grounded me, right? So this is before the stabbing, build up to the stabbing now. And yeah, I'm in the courtroom, I'm crying. They're saying, oh, you've got to go to Stamford House, secure unit, which is on Goldhawk Road, Shepherd's Bush. And that was my first taste of prison, because you're not allowed to leave there or nothing. It's like a prison, but a schoolboy prison.
Yeah.
And people like Chris Eubank were there.
How was Chris?
He protected me.
Yeah.
I liked him. He used to always laugh when he used to see me, because I was so small, because we used to go on the football pitch, and Mr. Simons, he was there, and even they wanted me to play for their team as well. But yeah, 3 months there, a bit of a crybaby, because there was all other little children there that were in for burglaries and robberies early on, and I was only in, well, not only in, but I was in for such a thing. But I never really used to talk about the crime. I didn't really want no one to know about it. And it's funny, he died, the geezer, later on, a few weeks from a head injury or something. I remember his name. But not because of me, but, you know, he died. But obviously, he's an abuser as well, because he attacked me and threw me out the thing. He might have been not the one that was doing stuff to me. But, you know, I got to Stamford House and, you know, my first taste, but I was weak then, small. I tried to run away a couple of times. They put me in this little block thing, because they had those little, like a wooden bed, but it was like a cell door. That's like at 12, 13, James. And then they said, oh, we're not going to send you to an approved school this time. We're going to send you to another children's home. And I was over the moon, because I was too scared to go to an approved school. But I got a children's home in Mozart Estate. And the school wouldn't have me back. So I lost out on that. I just like to mention my school teacher, who everybody was scared of, Miss Harding, an old lady. Everybody was frightened of her. She used to always come to the children's home on Easter and Christmas and bring me presents with her army husband. And I used to think she was a bad woman, but I realise now in later life that really she felt what I couldn't see. Do you see what I mean? And that's another angel that I look at that I didn't see then. I used to hide when she used to come, because she weren't my mum. I used to think, oh, I don't want her to come.
But you'd have been scared of any adult at that time, that you weren't trying to get manipulated again and bullied and abused. So you'd have been fearful of anyone that came into your life, especially the ones who were good.
Yeah.
That you'd have questioned everything. Probably even to this day you'll question everything. But to be then, you'd have been probably scared that she was actually trying to help you. Yeah.
Thank you. Good one, James. Oh, hey, James, and then after Stamford House, all the Mozart, because this is my fondest ever memories, living in Mozart. Not Lisson Green and Labrador Grove, and because that was where I met all the young burglars and good ones, if you like. I know, bad now, but, you know, back then, the West London lot were a bit more suave and had a bit more swag, if you like, than the rest of the areas. People might be open to debate, but, you know, we were surrounded by a lot of nice places where you could steal and get decent money from quite early. But
it's scary that Chris Eubank, it shows you he channeled his anger and aggression down the boxing route. And became one of the greatest boxers. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's in life, it's crazy how we channel things and see things differently, and where we get our kicks from, where we get our adrenaline rushes. He was obviously blessed. He had a talent and he's used it. He probably still got that to this day. I think people don't really understand his character. He's got a phenomenal story. So he has, Chris. It's very deep.
Yeah,
I spoke to him a couple of times. I'm actually trying to get him on the podcast, but people see him as, he's like a character. He's like a Disney character. But when you break all that shit down, man, he's actually a good guy, because I know the guy, was it Michael Watson? I think he was boxing and ended his career, but he does a lot of charity work still, I think, for him.
He was big for his age, James.
Was he?
Or unless it was because I was small and I was getting bullied by some geezer called Morris Lewis.
How do you remember their names?
Because I'm with dates, times, being out, at what prisons I went to, it's all clocked into my mind. Yeah. Because that's all I've ever done.
What happened with the bully?
He said, leave him alone. And they were head to head. he said, leave Sammy alone. And he was sticking up for me and, you know, it all got stopped and everything. But I remember that bit. And yeah, once I got to Mozart, it all started. And I never got nicked though in them few months in Mozart. So I don't know whether I was never a good criminal anyway, but no, I wasn't. In reality,
50 years in the jail tell you that.
I'm not all that, am I? No, it was more of a lunatic thing. James, but yeah, it started, you know, the dances, wearing the nice shoes, and nothing used to fit me. I was too small, but I used to wear everything size bigger and all that. Everybody had their big chains, not much different from now. You know, they've got all the bling, but back then it was, you know, the gold and things and big lumps of it. But, you know, I was too young. I was scared to wear my things out. I used to get the shirt and hide it under, you know, because you had it's not like now you've got a lot of robbers now that want to rob everybody's things and that. Back then you only had one or two that would be doing that kind of thing. You know, see you with your bracelet and chain and want to take you around a corner and take it off you kind of thing. But no, after Mozart State, the social worker come and said, look, you've got too much new clothing. They think you've been stealing. We're going to put you in an approved school. So, you know, I ended up in St Thomas More, West Grinstead, Horsham, Sussex, out the way where, you know, you can't leave. You get weekend leave if you've got a stable home. But obviously, was always the odd man out. I had nowhere to go, so I had to stay there. And you used to have to put your hands up like that in a marching kind of way when you're going to work and kind of things. In assembly, they used to have a book. They used to come in. They were like brothers or monks, but very serious ones. You get beatings there, James. So they used to stand out in assembly, and the senior man or whatever he was, Mr. Glynn, he used to stand there with a book and say, right, last night you were throwing buttons at blah, blah. You run into that dorm and blah, blah, blah. He said, can you come up here, please? So if you don't know and you've never been, my first bit, I went up there and he said to me, yeah, what do you think of that? And when I went to reach for that, he slapped me in my face and the whole assembly started laughing, you know, like boys do. I started crying.
So we're embarrassing you?
Embarrassing me. And I got a couple of other beatings there anyway. In the end, after 10 months there, I met some big criminal names there that were there then that are still around today from South London. But yeah, I ran away from there, went to stay at a friend's house, probably my earliest friend, and started burgling, you know, going to the places that looked nicer than ours. And after a few weeks, someone got nicked and we all ended up in custody. But I'm back up in Stamford House and the police came, James, and said, oh, we want you to admit you've been out there doing a spree, that kind of thing. But straight away, the other two said to me, oh, yeah, you tell them. So they made it up to me because I know now that I was the most vulnerable one, James. But then I started coughing up and pointing out what I'd done and everything, and it was only me and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, you go to court, both of them got off. And I'm standing there and they saying to me, look, we don't want to send you to detention centre. We want you to go back to another children's home. And I stood there and shook my head and I was crying. I said, I'm not going back to a children's home. I want to go to detention centre. So that time there I must have been 15 or something like that, James. And they said, you can't, it'd be no good for you. I mean, you got the laid bench talking to me, telling me that they don't want me to. And I was saying, no, I wanted to go. Because I knew a couple of mates that had done the DC, the short back and sides and march everywhere and came out fitter and stronger. And, you know, I wanted to test myself and be able to tell you that, yeah, I done a DC. I done a Borstal. So I was doing all that. I'd got the DC. And, you know, the first day in there, you know, you get slapped about and all. They play all kind of tricks on you. And a couple of months in there, I'm back on the street. I'm 15, 16. And for the first time, I'm not in an institution. So I go back to mum's and dad's in my room. But the house was like haunted to me, James. It brought back so many memories from the night. You know, every time I used to walk up them stairs, I used to always think, I don't want to go there. Didn't like it. I was only out a couple of months then anyway. That would have been 82, 83. I had my first love then.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What was her name?
Sylvia. She's passed away now. I know. Yeah, I was talking to her brother the other day. Good stuff he is, Frank. And so that's when I started a bit of drinking. I didn't really like weed because it used to make me think too much.
You smoking solid, hash?
No, I tried all that, but in the early days, so I didn't actually like it. So I didn't actually do anything. So during that period in '83, out there burgling for a couple of months, going all over, you know, London and the outskirts and whatnot. I ended up in St Albans Crown Court in front of Justice Drake, and I couldn't see over the dock. Right, I got nicked doing a judge's house in Rickmansworth. I was with an older guy. He gave me the bucket and sponge and the Boy Scout uniform. I said, look, Sam, just knock on the doors, pretend you want to do car wash, and if they don't answer, I'll go in. So I was doing all that kind of stuff. And then, but the police got called after we knocked the door, come and got us, arrested. And I went to St Albans Crown Court for 4 burglaries in 1983 when people were getting Borstal or 18 months for burglary. I went to St Albans Crown Court. The social worker went into the box and they were arguing over my body structure. The hospital or some psycho saying, look, he's got a body, a bone structure of a 8-year-old or something like that. So he's not developed. Because you remember I hadn't started puberty by then, James. You know, we'll go into that in a minute. And my beliefs on that, why it took so long for me to grow.
Stress?
No, the abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Just
emotional shock.
Yeah.
Puberty stopped the growth, but I'm going to explain that to you in a minute, big man. And so I'm standing in the courtroom and you get, I got 4 years for 4 drums. I couldn't see over the dock. I was wondering if I was hearing things. My sister was in the dock. My sister Jane was in the dock looking upstairs in the gallery, crying her eyes out. And the social worker was the one, we can't do nothing else for him now. And off you go, straight to Chelmsford. And then Ashford, Chelmsford, and then Aylesbury with all the young lifers. Yeah, with all the young, the baddest youngsters in England with their big sentences. But, James, looking at that, what I've told you about the abuser, taking me here, there, everywhere. There was one night he said, I'll take you to a Leeds football match. And obviously I wanted to go, but because it was him saying it, I knew that there must be something
else
behind it.
Yeah.
So I've ended up going to the Leeds Crystal Palace game, my first ever home game at Ellen Road, right? And Kevin Hurd scored a screamer. But I was too scared to celebrate. He was sitting right next to me. And then on the way back, he said to me, we've got to stop off at Leicester on the way back. I've got some friends there, so we'll stay there overnight and we'll go in the morning. But when I got to the house, I was, this has been going on a while now, James. So I thought, I don't want to. The lady of the house has come to me and goes, would you like to share a room with, with your guardian parent, Joe, kind of thing? And I said to her, no. I told her, no. She goes, oh, okay. But up to now, I don't know whether they were in on it too.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean, James? But I think back to that, but I got into a spare room and then on the way back, his behaviour, when I look back, obviously. But the effects of that, for me, I've had no counselling, but I studied myself and obviously I look at the cutting off of emotions, the people pleasing. All right, I was always a bit of a character as a boy, but, hard to say no, right? Shame and guilt, James. The effects of pre-puberty, the emotional shock now that I understand, which takes place through fright when, you're growing. So that could stunt your growth. I read it in one of Freud's things 20 odd years ago, because I was a damn Freud and Jung reader in the cat A's and the B's and all that, in the early days when I used to read. So I did my self-study and understood what I was feeling, put it all together and kind of blocked it out, unless, I was living with the trauma and didn't really know and were just fighting. But this was later on in life in the cat A's. But those effects, as well as trust in general, because you had a voice, but no one listened. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? How does that leave you? Mm-hmm. So I ask you, James English, I ask the public. I think I'm not Einstein or nothing, and I'm a bit thick with certain things. But what would that kind of abuse, what kind of effects as a child would that have in later life? You know,
it's going to have mega impact in your life, mentally,
you know,
physically,
yeah,
emotionally. To be cold-hearted, to have no trust, and that's where you kind of understand the route you went down, the violent route, because you're trying to protect yourself.
Yeah,
I don't want to be hurt anymore, so I'm just going to fucking give
I'll
you a
show
bit
you.
of damage. I'll show you
Yeah.
that I ain't a fucking mug.
Yeah.
Because you know, people, he's obviously manipulated you. The people I've on here who have been abused have been manipulated,
Yeah,
they've been
yeah.
groomed. It's grooming.
Yeah.
Go to a football match, this and that, and when people get older, they think, why did I not cry out? Why did I not say something? But you did try. Nobody believed you. Everybody else tried. Nobody believed them.
Yeah.
So it is difficult. But then in your mind, I've never been abused, but
yeah,
it's you can understand where people get frightened and really they try. Some people blame themselves, which is a hard thing. But you can't blame yourself for what the shit you went through, brother.
I did,
Fuck's
James.
sake, man. It's
Yeah.
not you. It's the dirty bastards who were
I
doing
know.
that.
I
Do you know
kind
what
of
mean?
felt, you know, I wouldn't approach women as well in my young age. I was shy after that. As well as the constant reminders, James. He's from Plymouth. Yeah. Someone mentions Plymouth football team. What do I think about? Mm-hmm. You see that ugly boat, the wicked bastard.
Yeah.
You know, any face that looks similar to it, what do? It passes through your mind. You always... But like the trust thing in general, obviously, that was the main. But I'll tell you what's given me the power to talk in later life, because, you know, it's coming to the end now for me with that bad career, and, you know, the soul, I want to make amends, because as much as I've never put my hand on a victim outside for money or anything like that, I frightened people with a gun and pretended to have bullets and things, and then a couple of people have broke down in front of me, James, and I've quickly put it away and broke down myself and left.
Because you know what it's like to be bullied.
It's like I have to see,
Yeah.
be confronted with how somebody's feeling before I go, oh no.
Yeah.
Without, you know, this is the kind of behaviour that I developed. And I'll tell you what's given me the strength is that, obviously, always known that I was a bit spiritual, a much more deeper man and thoughtful man. Always felt sympathy and empathy, and always tried to destroy myself if I hurt somebody that hadn't done anything to me, which a lot of my victims, apart from the first ones, are unknown to me. Do you see what I mean, James? But Joyce Mayer, prime example, right? A speaker, got abused by someone close to her, out there every day, telling people, you know, and I resonate and relate to her, because every line that she talks, I think, well, I felt that, and I felt this. It's all walks, not just abuse, but she came through that, the darkness of the light. I'm inspired by people like that, people like Tyson Fury. So honest, what a great man.
Yeah,
I love his character, I do, James.
yeah.
He's so himself.
Yeah.
But again, like me, you drive yourself to the darkest pits of despair, and then just to see how you react, to see if you can get back up, it's like something to do.
It's a bit of self-sabotage as well.
It's self-sabotage.
When you want to do something well, if you're doing good, you kind of think, I don't deserve this, so what I'll do is just fuck it all anyway, and make an excuse to go and do something stupid, just to blame something, when really it's all to do yourself.
He reminds me, his behaviour, because once he reached the pinnacle of where he wanted to go, he realised a lot of it, the shit around it, all fake people and all that. He's too deep and honest for that.
Yeah.
I love the way he says, forgive me, Lord, for I have sinned. Brilliant, man. And again, another role model for me in a different way. He hasn't been abused or nothing. But then you have Bernice Cattrall. Absolutely amazing lady. I don't know her or nothing like that, but I watch her and things, who's come out the dark into the light, who comes out there every day in full view of everyone, gets stick, and they better be careful how they talk to her, James, because she's a good person. And she comes, puts herself on offer. Why? Because she tries to show the injustices that are going on in the world. And she does it because she felt the same way herself, whatever age it was. I haven't gone too into it. She's a bit like Joyce Mayer. But it shows you how they do it. You take the power back and then give it out for the people that don't have a voice and suffer in silence.
Definitely.
That you're not to feel shame and guilt. And I'm that guy, or
So
going to be that guy.
You're speaking out just now as you taking every bit of power back, and people watching us, you will help people watching us to come forward and speak out.
Yeah, I'll be happy about that, James. Yeah. And for me, Bernie, even when you say her name, Buenice, it makes you feel better. But anyway, no. She not just abuse and that. She campaigns for all kind of stuff. These are the new people that I look at and feel secure and safe. That I'm safe to come out and
because it makes you feel you're not alone.
I'm not alone, and that's what I'm telling everybody. You are not alone. You won't. If anything that I can do to help anyone, I will do, because everything that I said back then has been brought up in today's era, and all of it that I told everybody has now been made. You know, because there was a football agent from Watford. When I saw that Benali case, he was a football agent, and then you hear that they were trying to groom boys. You come with me and I'll make you a professional footballer, and I'll get you this contract and that one, and that, manipulating young boys. And even that happened to me as well. They tried another person at a youth club. I remember he says to me, "You're magic, you are." He used to manage Alan Devonshire, a footballer for West Ham. But anyway, James, he offered to take, you come down to my country house, and I thought, not this again, as a small boy. Not just that in the children's home. But what I'm saying about the new role models, James, because I haven't spent a lot of time out, and because I'm at this stage in life, seeing people like that, especially females, where it must be more difficult to deal with that kind of trauma, to speak out about those things and feel no shame and guilt, that makes me now feel the same. Yeah. You see, and I've been through so much in them institution, all the wars, all the battles, all the mix-ups and that. We're going to get to that now. But you can't beat me. The only person that can beat me is me.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
And that's how I always, when it has to be done, it was so interesting that I could find ways to do it. So I never gave myself enough credit because I hated myself.
Yeah, but you're still here fighting.
Yeah.
You're still here now talking about
it. Making amends, which gets me onto that, the other role model side of thing, James. Recent times, before I was a vegetable, I'm somewhere and all the gang shit in jail's going on, and I'm watching it firsthand. And remember, I've got all my old troubles, everyone from the Cats, some of them from 20 years ago are now dropping in to the Sea Cats later on. So there was a month or two, big man, where everyone was turning up, but my window was opposite the induction wing, so I should just spy out the window. I said, "Oh, fucking hell, he's here," and all that. Anyway, I had to deal with a couple of things there as well, but it was Thursday night. It's tea time, it's bang up, right? Or association's finished, and it's all kicked off. I'm on a wing, and it's 9 against 4 or 5. Punching, all going on, but 3 or 4 of them, good youngsters. I really liked them, but I used to lie in my bed and worry about them, James. It was so strange, because I used to lie on my bed and think, he's not going to make it. They think it's going to be like that and reach, but, because the youth's age now, sadly, is shorter spans of living, not like our era back then. The murders were quite not too, like months and years apart. One murder you'd hear about, for months, but now it's every day and whatnot. But yeah, it all kicked off on that Thursday night, and I was a bit slow. I wanted to get involved, but I thought, no, I'll stay in the background. So you got about 80 people on the wing, plus you got the spur next door, because in the lower category jails, which I got to do in the later part, people can come on, the screws let them on the wing, go and see your mate over there. So it's all crowded, it's all swinging, and couple of people have hit the deck, but I never had a chance to move. So lo and behold, overnight, they start taking people down the block, right? They've taken all the people that didn't have no beef with each other. You know how stupid they can be, right? So they've taken, so in the morning, I'm thinking, everyone's still here. I thought they moved. They left all the ones where all the trouble was. So I've come out, the door's opened, I'm leaning on the railings, and I see a couple of geezers calling another couple of geezers, yeah, come. So you got to go around the landing that way while they're coming that way. But on this morning now, I've got my own one particular youngster, two, that obviously I like and I've got soft spots for. So it's the same old story with me every time I've been in jail. 2 daggers in my waistband, and, you know, when the doors open, because, you know, the life I've led, James, I always have to be ready. Unfortunately, this is the way that, you know, that was normal to me. That's the way, because you want to be ready when they come. So that's how I lived for all them years, most of them years. And so they've gone round to meet and they've all met at the same time. And then other people are going, but the 2 that I'm watching, I've got my eye on. So I'm moving at the same time. So they're in the corner, but they're stuck. But I can see blood coming from down there, James. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, everyone's there. There's like a railings of inmates just watching all this, like it's the gladiator days in the Roman Empire, where everyone's just, no one's stopping nothing, right? This is how it really is in those jails with the youngsters now, Big Band. So when I saw the cut, I said, nah, because it looked like the bell was going to go and then the little one's going to come out with a cut, and I didn't want him to come out. And plus I was thinking, how deep is it and whatnot? But, you know, I'm saddened to tell you that, James, that obviously I pulled out, I've walked over, put the left hand in both of his arms, the geezer that had the weapon, because the other guy didn't have the weapon, lifted him up. And the whole crowd's watching, and I've put one, and then it was bending, the tool. It wasn't the best one. So while I had him like that, I put that one back in my pocket and pulled out the other one.
Bigger one? A
bigger one, James, sadly. And because I was hurt, and you know it's wrong, and I'm not promoting that kind of stuff, but this is what's happening, and I'll get to the message now. So I've done the next one, and then the bell's gone, and all the screws are running everywhere, and blah blah blah. This is what they say I did, by the way. You know, this is what they're saying. You know, I'm just telling you the story, and it gets deeper. So that's the realities of prison. This is what happens day to day in the local jails and in, you know, jails where they're understaffed, where everybody can run riot and that kind of thing. So they said I swerved out the crowd and I just disappeared, and, you know, I was the invisible man and got away and everything. But, you know, yeah. And
what age were you then?
This is recent.
Yeah.
This is the last...
That was the last bit?
That's the last bit, yeah. But anyway, James, the message about this anyway, not the story. It's about the persons that were involved that day, or around about it that day. And I went back to myself, I thought about it, and I thought, look at this. You've got to be doing all this to show your enemies, to show people that you're still doing it, and that don't worry, I got your back, you can always rely on me. You're still doing that kind of thing based on your history and your people pleasing. You got the youngsters telling you what to do when really you should be telling them what to do. Samson, you know, you're just playing up to the crowd as usual. You don't care what happens to you. You know, these are really serious things that are going on, but you're making it look like it's just like a day's work in prison. You know, because a lot of them came with, tuna cans in socks that day? And then you're saying, no, tuna cans in socks ain't doing it. This is how you do it. So, as a bad role model, I'm showing them the wrong way. And what happens now?
You're getting used a lot in the jail because you were so dangerous.
Well, yeah, but I don't consider myself... I think I put myself up for sale because I didn't want to live, and I was people-pleasing, I wanted stuff and things like that, James. But the thing about it, the message for that, being a bad role model and, you know, wishing that I could have not had that. But when I used to lie there and think about them youngsters, it's so strange that the last few weeks, you know, the last couple of months or whatever, a couple of them have been gunned down, you know, like big headlines in the papers and all that. And, you know, I see the victims' families on all type, you know, the crying and the things and all that. And do I lie on my bed and feel guilty about it? Because of what I showed them, because they were showing tuna cans and I was saying, no, if you want to be the baddest man on the planet, you got to do it this way.
So people who were fighting that day have been shot just a couple of months ago outside?
Outside. Different incidents.
It's scary, but this is the society we're in. What prison did you do your biggest sentence?
The Cays.
Yeah. What one?
Long Larton.
How long did you do in there?
Whitemore 5 years. Long Larton 3 years. 9 months in Full Sutton Block.
How many jails you been in?
Half the A's, nearly all, 2/3 of the B's, and I did the C's early on when you're a burglar when you're younger. When I was getting the 4s and the 3s, staying out for a month, getting another 4. You remember it was 2/3 on what you lose remission wise. So I always used to end up, doing most of my time. Because I know Marvin, who's became like a brother over the last few months. We've got a lot of big plans together. He speaks very highly of you, and he doesn't speak highly of many people. He doesn't. He puts it straight, man. He's starting his own podcast and shit. And I know you've got your documentaries and stuff coming up. No, I love him, but he speaks very highly of you. He says you're the real deal. How did that relationship become about? He was younger, and he was a family member to one of my best friends, Porky, and I saw him when he was little, younger than me, because he was younger than me. But obviously, I disappeared early. And funny, because because I forget people, James. And then I saw him; he's doing his stuff similar to mine. He's changed his life around, and the change in him is remarkable. Yeah, he's doing amazing. I couldn't believe it was the same man and all that. But James, this is funny that because I'll touch on a little. A story as well. Yeah, but I didn't see him. I kept missing him. I saw him once in the 80s or twice, and in the early 90s a couple of times. But the time when I saw him, when he was at his peak, because he got out of a lot of big cases and things. Marvin, he lived that criminal lifestyle out, in the elite, if you like. It admits that he wanted that life at one point. I didn't get to. You remember, I was a jail man and a warlord and a bit of a mug. But that time in Swellside, when he'd had enough, I was doing my own thing then, and he fell out with the 2 biggest brothers on the wing. Now, obviously, he's like family, and I haven't spent a lot of time with him outside, but I've got to have his back. So he wants to fight. It's all kicked off, and they're saying, all right, the gym, the changing rooms. So I'm saying, all right, this is 94, 95. I said to him, yeah, all right, I'm coming. He goes, I'll be all right and all that. You know what he's like. But I said, you know what, I can't see him winning this one. I think I'm going to have to get involved, and, I'm going to have to, I'm going to end up down the block and shipped out. So, but they've gone in there, the first one, took him to the cleaners, no one got a punch in. So I'm kind of taken back because I knew that he used to box little, but obviously I missed how well he got, kind of thing. He never landed a punch in him. And then the other ones come. It didn't last as long, but, he wobbled him, and then everyone started. It was embarrassing for them, to be honest, the way that Marvin did that. And obviously I was laughing and I was breathing a bit heavy, and the adrenaline were walking back, and I'm going, yeah, boy, is that it? Yeah, Marv, is that it? He goes, oh, come on, Yammy, man. What? He was on stuff, wasn't he? But his brother, Barry, I had a big relationship with him in the Cays, and he is a living legend. He's the Scouse Yammy. Yeah. We used to team up, for the robberies and all that. But he could have a right row. I mean, he fights so much that and where he smokes and that people might look down, but, he fought with anyone, win, lose or draw. But I saw some great victories from him. And funny, James, I got to tell you this one. We was in the gym. No, we're on the landing, right, in Whitemore. And it's gym in the evening time. So we used to have a trick, me and him, where he'll take me on the pads, hold them for me, and make me look better than what I was, right? So he's doing that. He's got the pads, and because a few of the dealers are around that side, and they're not really fighters, right? Some of them are, some of them ain't. But it's a trick, one of our gameful tricks that we used to play. And I said to him, right, we'll go in there. What's his name's there? Because we ain't going to get nothing tonight, but we'll pull this one. Right, so we did this a couple of times and got what we needed or whatever, not just drugs and things, other things as well. But on this particular night, we've got called to the gate. I'm standing behind him, and somebody else is saying to him, listen, I don't want him stabbed or nothing, but I want you to do him in, some geezer. And of course, Barry said, what you got? What you got then? All right, give me some, whatever it is. Well, I don't know what well, I know what it was. But he took that. And obviously I'm excited. All right, we're going gym now. So we've gone down there. We're doing the trick again with the pads. So the geezer that he's got to do the hit on is there. So I'm going looking like the greatest of all time when really I'm not. He just knows what angles and he's good at holding the pads. But it can frighten a few people that don't fight. James. Bang now. He's gone, do you want to have a go to the geezer with the pads? And he's gone, yeah, well, I don't really know how to do it, but can I have I want to have a go. So I've gone, all right. I goes, oh, sweet, mate. And Barry started doing he's hitting the pads of the geezer. And Barry's gone, no, take the pads. So he's taken the pads. And Barry's gone, look, this is how you do it. Right, left, underneath, blah, blah, blah. But Barry's done one where he's caught him and knocked him out. But you and I know that he'd done it on purpose. Mm-hmm. So he can say the job's done. Mm-hmm. But it was an accident. Good one, really. But these are the things, again, the reality.
The sneaky shit.
The realities of prison. Mm-hmm. All the lifers never getting out, all the bitter and twisted, all the plotting and scheming. You can get done at any time.
Yeah. What was your biggest turn you ever done outside?
Oh, yeah, the out near opposite the Albert Hall.
Yeah, was that £1 million quid? It's worth?
Yeah. So, but I sold it all for bollocks, James, to be honest. It was late at night. It was Saturday. I didn't know you knew about this. Oh, James, yeah, that was 90.
I fucking know everything.
I know
you
do.
What I mean?
So that was 94 then, before I got the 8 and did 6 out of it and come out in 2000 when I got the 12, 13 years. But my biggest one was opposite the Albert Hall, yeah, Saturday night. The Princess of Jordan or somewhere, Saudi Arabian family, and got into the penthouse apartments, got into the fire exit where you climb up. All the gaffs are belled, obviously. They go round and round and round. Climbed 8 floors, light on, put my head through the window. I couldn't hear no one. I've gone in. When I've gone into the bedroom, I've never seen a gaff like this. And safe was open. So dinas, dollars, and a tiara, and a matching set. Right? Watch this now, James. Yeah, excited. Come out, think I'm the bee's knees, the greatest of all time, big emeralds and diamonds. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm in the game. But I was smoking crack them days. And I used to sit in my cousin's house and smoke £600-700 on my own in the dark and never come out of the room. So when I've got this touch, right, which is how we used to look at things in them sad days for everyone, I sold piece by piece like an idiot and obviously got ripped off because all I was interested in was doing what I was doing. So I was out 3 months and then they come a handprint or something, and then I was in the courtroom and they sent a representative down asking for the tiara back. I felt so sad that I couldn't give it back to them, James. He said, look, we'll get this dropped and we'll give you such and such, but it's a family heirloom. And they were all sitting in the gallery watching me. Like, you know,
they were going to drop the charges if you give them it back?
Well, because it was you're standing in the dock and you're looking there and you're thinking, who's all that? Who are them? And then the geezer in a suit come down. He said, yeah, look, if you about the money so much, because I said, no. I goes, if I get out, I'll try and get it back for you. But the truth was, I got it broken down, and things. So I ended up with something like, James, I must have ended up with about 60, and that's it.
Was worth $1 million.
And they said 1.2. I know.
Just shows you what the drugs can do to you.
It shows me what I really cared about.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about. It was more getting the prize and showing all them lot that, yeah, look what I've got. You know, I'm Raffles, the Pink Panther. I'm identifying myself with that same old thing from when I was young, the things that I was taught, because I'm of the firm belief when you're a child, it's what you see, what you hear, and what you felt. And if it's not dealt with inside, you know, you don't get to mature and get to understand your child and maturing and growing up outside. So I'm getting taken away while I'm already fucked, if anything. So I haven't learned nothing about outside life or relationships. All these things those things now I realise have an effect on me.
Did prison become your home though? Did you become spent so many years in prison? Did you? It might sound weird, but was there sometimes that you wanted to be caught?
I think I always left. Someone asked me the other day, but you never got nicked working. And I said, no, I know. They said, you always left things behind. I said, because I didn't really care, because I knew that the amounts that I would smoke in them weeks and months I'm out would be enough to kill me if I stayed out a year or so. No one smokes like that, James. You don't put £50 in a spliff, one king size Rislin, and sit there and you start hearing voices and all that. And then I started to get the gun and sit there and watch the door and see the handle. And does this all madness? Because you think, I haven't got no enemies outside, because most of my sentences are on my own.
How long were you on the drugs for?
I started with that, but it was really in jail that I started all
the brown.
Yeah, but I never did the brown outside. I didn't like it because
but it's only the majority thing you can get inside.
Yeah, and that's when the white sent me off key, where I didn't want to associate. Yeah, and the brown made me right. I want to die today. I don't care. I'm getting that prison thing. And
you ever suicidal?
Nah. I've got some paperwork to show you one day though. They ever, because the bad mouthing thing, James. A lot of people say, yeah, this is that, he's this, he's that. Well, just to let them all know, I got all my police records and prison files from every single sentence. If they ever want to get into he said and they said.
You done nearly 40. What'd you get? 46 years and done nearly 40 years inside?
In institutions, I've had one Christmas in 37 years. And since I was 12, which is how many years? 43. So you've got to see that out of 43, I would have had to have spent 40 or 39, 40 in custody.
Sick, Yammy.
In an institution of some kind.
Where does the name Yammy come from? Something to do with jammy or something?
Yeah. That was that.
How the fuck can you be jammy if you're...
Well, in the early days, I was when the children's home days, the Mozart days, I got that when they came out of a bar in Portobello Road, and I was with a gang of other kids, and a man was counting money in them green £50 notes them days, and they were saying, look, grab that, but straight on the second I dived between the four of them because the money was like that, somehow done a leap, grabbed the whole set of notes, and the whole street started chasing me, and then I got away, and then the rest of them took the money off me anyway.
And that's where you got the name
Sammy to Jammy, and then he's a Jammy Sammy, and then once I started all the greedy bastard in jail, like you want your thing and you want to do it, and nothing's going to stop me, I don't care, I live here, this is my home, it's the same as street, which is why I say it was a playground for me. But the message to the youth of today is that that's not the way to do it, because the more bad stuff you do, the more skeletons and worries you get when you're older, because you never get to live in peace. It's only now that, like, someone saying, I know that I could be murdered over my past, James. But at the same time, I accept that. I accept, because it's not the biggest things that have happened where a man feels violated. It could be the smallest thing. Yeah. You never give him his phone card, or, you never paid him his canteen, or you'd be surprised what feelings. Some people hold deep feelings over absolute things when you were the one doing bad things anyway. The parasites and all that.
Karma's always comes into play, but if you can change your life and start doing good, I believe life can get balanced out. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty of life. And I always repeat myself when I say this shit, but it is the beauty of life. I've had many men on this show who've changed, who nobody thought they would ever change. But there comes a point as well, when you do all that bad shit, is to pretend that you're strong and crazy. But when you actually admit your past and grow a conscience and accept the people you've hurt, the victims, and go, I'm sorry, that shows the courage, that shows strength, that shows the character that
I was
you're willing to change. How many victims do you think you've had over the years?
I got quite a name. None of them never done nothing to me. They're not to blame for me not getting a chance, to have a decent childhood, because I always had that spiritual voice, like, if you like, the God voice always telling me that you don't like doing drugs, you don't like doing things to people, so you're only going to punish yourself because you know that you're wrong. So it's more the mind, because when you're taught when you're younger, if it's only like from there to there to there to there that you've ever gone, your brain becomes small, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You think, well, go there, go there, go there. But now in later life, we know that you can go there and see something different. Yeah. You can like some of the role models or the people that I aspire to, that I get inspiration off, that kind of thing. There are good people in the world, James.
I read a story, is it true or not, that you wanted to give 5 of your enemies in one day, 5 people who you had enemies with, and you tried to target them all?
That's not, I wouldn't say that if we're talking about that day on the yard in Highdown, where in fact it was 3 people, but it was meant to be 5, but everybody was in different corners of the yard, James. But it was more of a frenzy, more creepy and sneaky. And then the bell went and I got back in. And then I suppose my greatest fight with the screws was that day or shortly afterwards, where I went hell for leather and realised that, hold on a minute, Yammy, you can have a right go when you really want to. Everything's always within me. Like when I was a vegetable, James, I always used to think, yeah, I'm getting up in a minute.
How were you a vegetable?
Well, I fell off the top bunk bed in Wandsworth late at night, 40 bed, sitting up, geezer downstairs below me, on crutches, right? So I'm on the top bunk. I got up to go toilet. The bed was moving from side to side. I sat on the edge and went head first. And, it was all over. There was the floor was covered in blood. He rang the bell and I was lying there and the hospital came and the ambulance woman, I can remember when I was fading off, James, she was crying. It was her first night on duty. And she said, oh, he can't make that because the gate was closed in Wandsworth. They couldn't get the ambulance out of the thing. But yeah, there's a spinal cord, cervical 3 and 4 and 4 and 5. And I was in hospital for 5 months and all the experts, one from Australia, said, look, you got the same injuries as Superman. Yeah. You've got the exact, and you won't be able to walk or use your hands again.
What were you thinking at that moment?
My missus came there, obviously harrowing for her to see, and in intensive care I had the horrible ones from Wandsworth as well. So funny that it was the ones that I didn't like that were there, because a week before the injuries, James, I had a punch up with them. This is recent times before the injury, and I punched the governor in the mouth and all that, and they moved me. Yeah, everyone was there. He said to me, "Get back to the." So they was talking to me like I was a little boy, James. Yeah. And when everyone's there, you can't do that to me when everybody's there.
Get your back up,
because I'm a crowd pleaser. Yeah, you're better off coming to do me on your own. Yeah. So I go, all right, leave it. But if there's a crowd there, don't bother trying, because I got the set of skills if I that
all stems back from being younger and getting embarrassed in front of crowds and slapped.
Is that what it? Do you think?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. That's for you when you used to get called out and slapped.
It's the only time I performed it great, when everybody was there.
Because when you feel you're most vulnerable, people are laughing at me.
Thank you. I never thought about it that way, James. Oh, but so what was you talking about?
That when you got brain damage, you fell off the bed.
So I'm in hospital and they're all saying to me, look, I'm saying, listen, I just spoke to God, because it was late one night after about a week. So I've got the collar on and everything, James. I'm lying there in St. George's, like that, and I'm looking, 2 screws are there. The missus has gone. My first ever relationship. We'll get round to that. And I'm looking at the sky and I'm laughing. So they said, what are you laughing at? And I said, because I just spoke to, or looked at God, or felt God, or whatever. And he said to me, I said to him, well, is that how it ends for me? After all that, the 40 years, to be dead and buried. And he looked at me, well, not looked at me, but I heard him say, and I heard him, James, they could call me a nutter or whatever, and I'm a Christian now, and, I'm giving my life to God and the cause, and, many people that were abuse victims use God's help to get them through, these dark times and get to tell their story. But I lied there and I told them. I said, listen, he told me. He said, you got out of everything else, you get out of this one. And I was going, well, hold on a minute, what are you saying then? But it was almost like that relationship that I've had with him for years, you'd be all right.
Do you think that was that wake-up call to give you the kick up the arse to say, right, I'm going to try and change my life? Isn't it crazy that all the shit you've been through, you've been stabbed? Have you ever been shot?
No, I've been in a car that was shot that hit somebody else.
So you've been stabbed, you've been in the system for nearly 40 years. But then you fall out a bunk bed and nearly die.
After all that.
Does people they believe you that story, the guards and shit, or did they think you'd been done?
They told the whole prison, they said, there you are, bad man, because that thing happened with the governor a week before. They were going, see, that's it now, paralysed for life, never walk again, and blah, blah, blah. So
people were laughing at you?
Well, they were laughing, but I got a big card, though. They brought a big card from 100 inmates signed when they heard that I got back up, and they told them, nah, Yammy, and then they started. Once I got up, because I was doing that, James, first, it was a thing where you had to be hoisted out of bed on a machine, up there to be put down there. This is going on a few weeks, and I'm lying there, but I was still laughing. My missus was saying, what are you laughing for? I said, don't worry. It never felt that way to me inside, James. I never thought that I wasn't getting up. And they're saying Superman injury, he didn't, you can't, it's too high up and and but, James, I got up and then started acting flash. So I was doing that first, getting up, standing up with it, but I made sure the bed was there, so that if I fall, I fall back down onto it. So they would go, stop it.
Move your seat forward.
He was going, stop it. Yammy, you can't get up. You've got to stay there. And I said, nah, I ain't taking. You got to stand first. That's what I was saying. And they were going, because where I'm old school. I'm sorry to say as well, James, that there's been mix up with me and the screws and that for years and years and years, and I don't listen to nothing they say. So while I was in the hospital, I was saying, listen, I was still arguing back while I couldn't move. I goes, I'll be up soon, you watch, you tell me anything, watch, I'll be up soon. I was doing all that shit. And then when I got up, two of the nurses I really liked, lovely ladies, I said, look, when they're not looking, I goes, let me stand up and try and do one. And she was going, I'll get into trouble. I said, no, come on, man, do one. Then I done 1, 2, and I said, nah, it's all bullshit. If you do 1, 2, you got to be able to do 3 and 4, then 5 or 6.
So you got the strength, but that shows you your character to be able to do what you set your mind to, and that's the power of the mind.
Yeah.
You can do it and achieve whatever. It's crazy.
You never knew that all the stuff that you've been through, you should have actually...
What was it like being out for the first time in so many years in hospital? Were you ever thinking about escaping?
Nah, because I was in there 5 months.
Or getting somebody to escape you if you're
they're always paranoid of me. Like when we got to Stanmore, James, right, because I've got history for having affairs with staff, it's happened a couple of times over the years. And, that you're the big man, James. You say to me, Yammy, you can get into him and see, because I'm always that guy, do you want to be? I'll go up front for everyone. So I'm that kind of middleman as well. So my name gets called in a lot of things, but really I never got nothing out of it. I just put you two together and you bring it in for him. So I was good at that. So my history says so. And they were weary of me, the screws in Wandsworth. And they're all young ones now. And I know some of the old ones and they're all right, really. But the young ones, and some of them I couldn't really. And I was saying, listen, shut up and did it. So once I got walking a few steps after 8 weeks, 9 weeks, but I still couldn't move my hands. I still couldn't move my hands. And James, that started to come a little bit after. So that would have been about 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12. Once I got to Stanmore, and then they said, you can't go and sit in the room with the other spinal patients, because I was in a ward full of spinal patients. Then I got my own one. But the ward I was in, everybody had lesser injuries than me, but no one got up. So I started to think, well, hold on a minute, you're a bit lucky, eh? Really, considering the seriousness of the life-changing injuries and all that. But, showing off, James, the usual Yammy one would walk into the gym, to the physio thing. And
were you taking gear before you went?
Nah.
No, before it happened, injury?
No.
So you were getting yourself clean anyway?
Yeah, I was.
Did you have a lib date? Did you have a date to get out or anything?
No, because I was on a recall on the last 8, which I did. I've done 7 out of, really.
Yeah, so you had a year left?
When the injury happened, I had 2 years left. So I'm on a recall where you got for hearings and when I was on my deathbed, I had a hearing and they said, no, James. They wouldn't let me out. My missus got the MP from down by, I'll tell you her name, good lady in a wheelchair as well. I forgot her name. She's an Asian lady, lovely lady. And she said, listen, you got to let him out. What do you mean you're not going to let? So they left me there. So when I got up anyway in Stanmore, I started to give the bop. I can't really feel my feet on the floor. I haven't got sensation everywhere, as you would expect. But when I walk into the physio room, you have to go a long way around there. I'm talking to all the, yeah. And, the screws don't really like it because you know that if you're liked and you like people and you want the best for them, some people are going to shine to you and you're going to shine back. Yeah. And then they're going to stick up for me when they're trying to do, because when it kicked off in the hospital one night, James, isn't it weird? They said, oh, you have to not use the general phone at the desk. You have to start using the screw watcher's mobile phone. I said, what? I said, why is that? And I goes, all right then, let me use it now because I've got to phone my missus. So he says, no, I've got to wait for orders and blah, blah, blah. James, I could barely stand and all that. And I picked up the chair and went like that with the cuffs on. And all the nurses, the ladies, all the ones I get on with, they run in. And I went like that. And I was moving around the side of the bed to come round that way because he's sitting there with his... And I'm walking, I'm lifting it. And, because he felt like he was bullying me and taking a piss out of me being disabled. Some of the stuff he said, I thought, you know what, I ain't having it. So I picked up the chair and came round the side and all the ladies, Yammy, no. As soon as I saw them, I didn't want him to see that side of me, you see. Yeah. And I sat down and they said they heard and they knew. But anyway, you go back to Wandsworth. You're in cuffs. Oh, I felt gutted to go back after that. It was like being out, socialising, because I'd never been in a hospital before.
That would have been the longest you've been out in, 35 years, 40 years?
Mad, isn't it? Mad, isn't it? And, but I'd only ever been in hospital twice before. Once when I got knocked over in the children's home by a van, and I went all the way up in the air and fell on the floor on Marylebone Road, but I didn't have no injuries. And the other time, when I got stabbed in Swellside, when they rushed me at labour change, and I was protecting someone else, and I picked up two there, and I had someone in my arms and got one there, and then I dropped him and then got one there. But, I got done that day because I never had a weapon. It was after that I started using weapons and forgetting about the knockout punches and all that.
You got a Queen's Pardon as well?
Oh, yeah.
So how did that come about?
The Queen's Pardon was...
Did you save a guard?
No. It's a woman probation officer called Carol Bellardi. She used to work in an office outside, right, in London. But in the old days, in the 80s, they used to come in once a week or whatever to do the job in Wandsworth. So my girlfriend at that time with my son was pregnant, right? The baby was just my son was just born. And they put a note under the door saying you got to go Camp Hill in the morning on the ferry and blah, 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 blah. So I'm lying there. This is 1989 March, right? And I'm lying there thinking, James, nah, that's too far for visits. I don't want to go there. So in the morning, because you only get 2 days notice before they just come, Wandsworth was dangerous them days as well. You get the shit kicked out of you. What it is now in Wandsworth was nothing back then with the old lot and the old mentality of the screws. But so I've worked out a plan, because when you apply, you've got to make an application to see the probation officer, and that can take a week or two. So I'm thinking, no way, I'll be on the ferry by then. So I've gone on the yard exercise where you all round in single file with your blue jackets on them days. Come back to the wing. I said, nah, she's in today. So when they were banging up everyone, because you have to get banged up in Wandsworth them days, no one's left out apart from cleaners and whatnot. But I've disappeared onto the ones, sat on the toilet with my feet up, with my head down so the bit's covering my thing like that. So they've looked at me and not looked over. You always know they're not going to look over. They're looking for the feet and whatever. One of the institutional tricks, James. And then I've gone upstairs. I see the line was that way. The probation room's that way. So they're not facing the door. They're all in the queue, waiting to be asked to go in. So what I did was push right to the front of the queue to get chatting to her. And without looking in, I opened the door. When I opened the door, there was a man, a foreign-looking man with an article in his hand, with his hand around her throat. And walking backwards like he was coming round the table to come out of whatever he was going to do. I didn't have time to think, and he was bigger than me at that time. I weren't that strong as I am now then. So I didn't know. The only thing I could do, again, a female, I've gone running in there. So I ended up getting a little small scratch, nothing much, but we ended up rolling over the table. She ran out the room and pressed the bell. Never seen as many screws as this in my whole life, James. About 100. The whole wing was covered in uniforms, right? I somehow end up on top of him by luck. So I don't know how that happened, but, I was lucky. So I was on top of him, so they pulled me off him. So they pulled me in the corner, got him in the corner. They're talking to the woman, the lady, and she's trying to say, but obviously she's in shock, she can't talk properly. So they've wrapped him up, right? So then they're coming for me and,
They think you were part of it?
Mm-hmm. So they're bending up. I go, Gov, no, it ain't me. I ain't done nothing. He's going, yeah, put your head down, you know what I mean? And bend my wrist, put my head down. But as I'm walking past, I can see the lady's legs. And, sad, she had tears in her eye. It's so sad, James. And she come and said to Mr. Baker, he's dead now. He was a proper bad one, but I rated him though as a screw. He used to come in and search you on his own in Wandsworth in the old days. He used to come through the door on his own. Everybody freeze. He had that energy what made people scared. I've never seen a bunch of serious convicts run from a screw, but he's there talking to her and then he's looking at me. I'm saying, hold on. So I'm standing up now and then she's come and then he's gone, right, hold on, let him go. And then brought me round. He goes, you're my hero, Yammy. He goes, I'll get you. I goes, no, don't involve my name in anything. I'm purring about the comebacks. I looked at her, went upstairs, and then he gave me a job on the hot plate. And he said, everyone that went past, see, I got slagged off for that back then because they said that, I got him, I stopped it doing, they started to grass me off for that. But James,
Nah, man, that woman could have been killed or raped or something. Did that bring a lot of memories back from your mum being beaten up or getting stuff?
Funny that, isn't it? When it does do that to me even now. Mm-hmm. I don't like seeing a lady cry. Yeah. It does my head in, James. But so he's brought me on the hot plate. He said, you get an extra fish today. I thought, oh, yeah. Well, Downsview had just opened and it was a male's prison. And he goes, right, Mr. Turner, they used to call him Mr. Angry. In the mornings when the bell used to go, unlock the bastards. It's proper different in the old days, James. I've gone to Downsview, doing a 3.5 year stretch. And with about 9 months left, 2 geezers in a suit came with a certificate with the writing on it called Royal Warrant. And my mum gave it to my mum, she stuck it on the wall, and I got 275 days back off my EDR, earliest date of release, not parole, right? Because I never ever got parole off any sentence, right? 270-something days, raw warrant, and to come off your thing for a heroic act.
That's unbelievable.
I got that.
Yeah.
And so at least, that...
Did you get time off your sentence?
That was it. The 270 days.
200 days.
Yeah, just under a year. Yeah, so I got let out like next week. Mm-hmm. So we had 9 months left or something. I only had a week left and I went out and I was clean. I run a marathon, a wheelchair marathon for Banstead with the wheelchair sponsor. I did that. I went to college for the first time in life for 6 weeks and then 1990, out 6 weeks. Got upset in the cafeteria during the college course. Went to Knightsbridge with a briefcase in my hand and got nicked. I'd knocked on a door, 5 Banham locks, and no one was in. But I took off the door with my feet. I took it off. Banham had a good run up and took it off. It took me nearly 40 minutes to take it off. And when I got disturbed by the poor lady, she come through the door. I tried to show her my college pass and tell her I was Israeli intelligence, and she hit me with the handbag. But, I legged it down the stairs, didn't do nothing to her. But she went to the window and shouted out, a builder. And a builder come running down the road in Sloane Street, James. He said, who are you? And da-da-da-da-da. But I was pretty nifty and rapid. I knocked him to the floor, jumped on a bus. I jumped on a bus, but it was a bus that was going back to the depot with no one on it. And when it turned the corner, 2 plainclothes police in football scarves said, "Excuse me, sir, can you come off the bus, please? Something's going on. You just hit a builder." And then I got nicked for that. And then I was away. Then I started to take drugs in jail. Around about that time. So the 8 years prior to that, I wasn't really a smoker.
Was that to numb the pain?
No. It was someone said to me one day, "Your energy's too high, Yammy. You need to cool down." And where I didn't used to do puff, I thought, well, let me have a go. But it turned me into a raving lunatic.
What kind of people? Because I know we'll touch on Noel Razor Smith, who's been on the show, who's a
Razor
great
Smith.
guy.
I haven't seen that. I haven't heard about
Noel. Notorious bank robber, apparently has done over 200 banks. Guy changed his life in prison.
Oh, I know him, James.
Stuff. Yeah,
I know James Razor Smith. I've been in the Cattays with him, Whitemore, Parkhurst, Albany, Highdown, Belmarsh. I've been everywhere with Razor Smith. Do you know it's funny, right? Brain boxes, very intelligent man,
clever
James.
man, yeah.
I proper like Razor, you know, not the kind of man you want to mess about with.
Yeah, don't fuck
He
about.
don't really, you can't, he's one of them ones, you can't really approach him, but me and him had a good, he used to laugh at the things I did. He used to say, "Yammy, you fucking," you know, he was in church one day and I robbed someone in the back room. You know, he would say, you're a lunatic, mate. And then one day he come to me, he said to me, we was in Belmarsh, I'll never forget it, because I was with him in the Cays and he was a writer from back then. He was already on that path and that. I saw him in Whitemore in later years when I got that big one, and you know, something sad happened and I never saw him again after that. But I did like Razor. He's a good-hearted man. One time in Belmarsh, he said to me, he come out and he said to me, he said, "Yammy, come here." And I said, yeah. I said, "What are you saying, Raze?" He goes, "I got some cards here. Can you get some certain things for me?" I said to him, yeah, I'll do that. And when he put the cards in my hand, he went like that. And he held on to my hand and he went, "Yammy, you're not going to do me over, are you?" I said, "Razor, look how long, I'm not going to do that to you," like kind of thing. He goes, all right. But he was laughing. He knew that but he felt the need to say it. And obviously I brought back his, Razor's one of the ones that I brought back your things for. Yeah, definitely. I liked Razor.
Yeah, he's a diamond man.
He's out of it. I was reading the newspapers in there and all that.
He's doing well.
Yeah,
what about Bronson? You're with Charlie Bronson?
Yeah, I spent time.
What was he like?
I liked him as well, to be honest. James, very intelligent man, not what they say. I spent, 2 months in Whitemore down there, but he asked for me the other day. I've just wrote him.
Oh, good.
Positive letter, yeah, because he phoned a thing and messaged me and I got something off him, but someone the other day. But I've had to write to him as well. But I spent time in the Segs, a couple of times. My memory's a bit jaded, but one of them I was with him for 2 months and calling me out the window, and he used to always be on me to do my training and say, "Yammy, you don't need it," and blah, blah, blah. I saw some of his drawings, sound advice. Not a big ego geezer, not a bully. A man that, just for his own cause, was probably belittled by them at a certain time in life, James, and fought back. And he's done it that way for years. I would have had him as the strongest, the baddest man physically, because I can say there's a lot of bad men that have, if we're talking about that kind of stuff that I used to look up to, which I don't know more, what they did outside and inside. But really, in reality, the physical thing, one-on-one with Charlie, I can't really say. I've met some tough geezers. And even some of the people that I've mentioned by way of interviewing, because I knew them more and saw a lot more from them and whatever. But I've seen, like you said, they're quiet. There's some quiet bad men. Oh, yeah, it's the quiet ones you've got to watch. It's the ones who, I know quiet guys who just sit in a pub, nobody knows who their name, but they are proper men. They don't do they just do their thing and keep quiet. Yeah. But yeah, listen, life is life. Good stuff. They're good stuff, that, right? I'm glad you mentioned him,
Yeah.
I like it.
He's a big name, isn't he?
I read one of the books.
I think he's getting out maybe a year or two. They're saying that he might be getting out, Charlie.
Oh, that's Charlie. No, but I'm talking about Razor.
Charlie.
Charlie might be out next year.
Yeah.
He might be. That'd be good. They asked me the other day, would they? I think he would manage.
What do you think back now, looking at your life and spending so much time in prison? How do you see it? I
honestly look at myself as a social shaman. I see it more that whatever suited me and whoever was there, I pretend to like them. Well, not pretend, I love them or be like them. All different kind of kangs, James. All different walks of life. I just basically acted in a way that I thought that everybody, but in doing that, lost my identity. Because I was always a sad, deep man. You know, some of the bad stuff that I've talked about in other podcasts and all that sickens me. Makes me think that, you know, it was always when something was on offer that I would, you know, that I would do something crazy. And then they'd all talk about it. Yeah, Yammy's a nutter. He done this and done that. But really, it's like a defence mechanism. You know, I think it was a shield to say, well, but then I'm loved a lot as well, James.
Of course, yeah.
I'm loved quite a lot by a lot of villains. I got a lot of squeezes because there's other people, you know, that you know, if you're talking about the hierarchy of, you know, like the Marvin Herberts, the Terry Adamses, you know, all the other bigger names that you've probably heard about. You know, I had little respect of those kind of people, and even with Terry Adams, you know, he used to always, well, he was in the Cat A's in recent times, and I met him through someone else. I didn't know him. I think I knew one of the brothers from the early days, and he used to always say, look, he betted on me once with a powerlifting. I said, yeah, and he goes, bet today. I said, I'm not on nothing, so bet, I'm going to win. So, because I was just the lightest, so he bet one, you know, whatever his currency, whatever it was, because, you know, he does his little thing, sound, you never know what he's thinking. Serious man, Terry, but good bloke. But James, isn't it funny that he once said to me, shall I bet today? This is like 6 months later. And I went, nah, I'm on the gear again, forget it. And he goes, see? He goes, but I like you, Yammy. It was funny, during that time, that Cat A's, now that I think about it back then, they used to have these parties, like ooch parties, James. And, you know, it takes a few days. You got the starter and then you got to hide it somewhere and you got to have it. But on this Saturday, right, I don't think I've told many people this, but there's people that obviously was there then that know about this. But we was talking about it this morning, me and my manager laughing. But I said, I know, I'm a proper mug, mate. But it was Saturday. Everyone was looking forward to it, right? Black and white, this one. You know, all the heavy mob there. And what makes me laugh is they all say hello now and again, but they don't really like each other. You know, they don't hold conversations. A lot of the big ones, yeah, you're right, sweet, and keep it moving. It's not like me, James, who gets into relationships with everyone so that when there's ever any problem, I start feeling the pain for everyone because I like you and I like you and I like you. You know, and then you got to think, well, when it all kicks off with all of them, what are you going to do? And that's happened a couple of times. And I've had to hide behind the curtain like that, looking. So, on the Ooch party, so it was Saturday, right? There was a bent screw on that day, right? He never liked me, but I didn't know he was bent. So he's always going, get back to your cell, and just one, James. There's always one. And I say, shut your mouth, you're a mug, you're a muppet, don't talk to me, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This went on for years like this, James. And so the party's coming, I've got the guest list. So I'm the one who another big man gives me the paper, and I've got to go Saturday morning. Nah, there's only 15, 20 spaces for 2 cells, right? And everybody thinking, oh, yeah, what? I'm friendly with everyone. What, didn't you get me in, Yammy? You know, I'm saying, no, you're not on the list. I don't want to say he don't like you or whatever, but, you know, I've had to... And then L Tells walked past and, yeah, what am I? I'm coming, you know? I went, yeah, you'll be there, right? So Saturday's come, a lot of disappointed people. We've all gone in there, and the drinks started, because weekends is earlier bang up, and you've got to bang up by 4:35. So it's 1:30. So over lunch, everyone's getting ready, dressed and all that, because there's MDNA and there's Ooch, James. So we've gone in there. First it's the old soul, and we're all having a little duddy. Ooch was making me drunk that day, James. And then I've swallowed a little bit of magic. For the first time in life. I've never ever done it. They said, put it in a Rizzler, and half of the group, not LTL, he didn't touch nothing, right? So I've swallowed that, and after... Everyone's loving each other, even all the ones that don't get on. They're all hugging and kissing, and you're all right, and he's all right. Yeah, don't worry about that. It was nothing. And everybody's letting their guard down. When the music started to get higher and higher with the garage and all that, LTL looked at me, and I was having I had to see a healthcare nurse once a week. She was like a psychotherapist, right? So once a week, and when you're in prison for years, you're not getting no visits or nothing. I'm not in contact with the outside world because that's how I used to do it, shut away. And you kind of get, you get dreamy looking at certain females. And, I love her, I do. She's really nice. And but it's in your mind, you make sense of it and all that. But on this day, James, they're all dancing and everything. Tells gone, Roy, that's enough for me, I'm out. And all that. But he could hear what they were all saying to me. They were saying to me, I said, listen, I've got to go at 4 because I got an appointment with the healthcare nurse. They've gone, Yammy, she loves you. Anyone could tell that she loves you and you're mad. I'll get her to bring stuff in and all. I ain't never going to make a lady do anything bad for me. But I'm going, yeah. But obviously I'm getting higher and higher. So now I'm gassed now because I know 4 o'clock's coming. They're saying, you should make a move. She likes you, man. And I remember I'm thinking about the couple of affairs. I've been lucky that way before in the past, in prison and all that, giving it all that. So I've come out buzzing. Chest high, boom, walk into the gate. Yeah, Yammy, you got an appointment. Boom, Saturday afternoon. So Tells was at the gate. He went like that to me. He said, don't listen to all that bollocks, Yammy. Don't get involved. And I goes, no. What did I go and do? I went down there, James. I sat opposite her. I was buzzing out my nut and I looked at her and she looked at me. We cracked a joke about something, but like the fool I am, I leaned over and tried to kiss her on the cheek. So when I did that, she stood up and went, Yammy, what are you doing? I went, oh, sorry. They pressed the bell, James. And wrapped me up.
Fucking hell.
Wrapped me up down the block. Thing all buzzed up and all that. Down there, twisted up and all that. So I'm down there, and you know how prison is. Oh, for effing hell's sake. And I remembered that one the other day. And in the morning, they knew that it obviously ain't nothing, and I was drunk and all that. They let me back on the wing, and everyone's going, what happened? We heard it. I said, no, it wasn't that. It was there. And they said, yeah, but you're mad, you know.
Everybody gassing you
up. I
apologise.
Exactly, The same old Yammy.
So see, when you look at all that, obviously, you've went through what you've went through. You spoke about the abuse, which is amazing to speak out. 46 years in the jail, not done nearly 40.
Yeah.
But now that you're out, you're clean, you're sober, you're thinking differently, you're looking for inspiration, you want to become an inspiration yourself.
I've got it.
What's your plans for the future, brother?
Well, we got the It Is What It Is TV. Obviously, that's a big shout to
Where can people get this?
On YouTube. It Is What It Is TV.
We'll leave the links in the description for people to subscribe.
Yeah. It Is What It Is TV. Samson B Facebook, Sam7 Instagram, and It Is What It Is TV Instagram as well. But obviously the main one is It Is What It Is TV, and the kind of things that are coming very shortly are podcast talks, sports, entertainment, and some more radio plays by me.
Want to get a book out?
My book's halfway done now.
Documentaries, films.
Yeah, I've got enough. We got a film called Kirk for you. We think you'll like that, James, as it goes. And I've got the play, the real life one from the last bit where I was taking notes in Wandsworth, that's going to be done, and that'll be next year. But the book, I've been so slow with everything, my concentration. I've been dying to get this out of the way and see you, big man. And I watched a couple of your things, and I was really, I like, it feels hurtful to talk about painful stuff, James. But at the end of the day, I'm getting used to it. And with those inspirations, as I've told you about, and I cry for some of them more than myself, really, because I know that a lot of my stuff was self-inflicted. But the channel is coming. Good. And any subjects, talks, or podcasts, we'll have. Remember, I know a lot of big names as well. Yeah. They haven't done interviews yet, but they'll come for Yammy.
I look forward to it.
But basically, it's that plus the my writing. I'm narrating as well, my reading, but I'm starting doing my talks to the kids online, and in a couple of schools I've been doing that, and I've been having offers since I come out, people messaging me saying this one, that one, come to me. I've got a couple in Australia, James, that want, if it wasn't for this, they want me over there in a plane to give me a house to come and give the powerful talks over there. So I'm enlightening myself, studying, reading, refreshing my brain.
The future's looking bright.
Yeah. yeah. But I'm so relaxed and so cool. I'm up at the crack of dawn, swinging down the high road at 5. But really, there's complications as well as being murdered from my past, James. I could be. This injury as much as good as I look.
Of course, brother. But you can walk outside and get hit with a bus. You can fall off a bump bed.
But I'm saying the condition is my condition. Getting up was a miracle, but there's still complications.
Yeah,
and it's a possibility that I could actually. You know, if something goes wrong,
and I don't think that's going to happen. For anybody that's watching who thinks they're a bad man or wants to be a bad man, for somebody who's lived it like yourself, what advice would you give for them?
I'm gonna say that the more bad things you do, the more in later life you're gonna suffer. Because when you reach a certain age, you're going to realise that if you're thinking of just doing it for a sense of belonging and whatever to better yourself, there's no real success stories in any of it. You know, all the people that I kind of idolise in later life now, I realise I idolise good people, and how easy that would have that been for me. That the people I'm finding now, I want to be like them and be the way that my spirit tells me. Not go with that bit of me that says, oh, he living in those conditions the way that I'm taught and thinking that that's life. Because in fact, not a lot of people reach my stage, as you well know, James, and a lot of them youngsters are dying early, and they go to prison. And when you reach the cates, it is not easy. You have to. Certain people come on here and say, "Oh, I sailed through the cates." You never sailed through nothing. You never sailed through nothing. If you never fought or got in the mix and never felt nothing, then you never was involved. And that's the way I see it, James. And it's a frightening experience. You know, it's only because I'm institutionally taught that I know I know the truth, and I know that it's all a lie. And that the easier solutions are do it the right way. It might take longer and you might not see your goals straight away and the results, but the same consistency and persistency that you're putting in to go up there, because what they do is they tell you to be like me, you have to do this, do that, but they're not telling you that a lot of them die along before they can even reach the stage they're at, and that they're just going to get you to do it like they got me to do it, you know, because you want to be seen around them because they've got the name and you want to be part of it and all that. But what does it all mean? In the end, what does it all mean? You do a bit of Bird, you know him. But what about you and how you really feel? Because there's a lot of lonely people out there. There's a lot of people that we grow up and the conditions at home are not really that good. You know, there's many abuse victims that don't go on to commit crime and take it out on the public. They haven't done anything for you. They're not to blame for your life. You know, my journey for my soul, James, is to make amends and give back. I don't want nothing in return, which is the altruism.
Yes.
And that's me. I don't want nothing. You know, other people, you know, with me and that, they want, but I do everything for nothing, James.
Love it, Yammy. Listen, brother, you're coming on today and telling your story. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see the rest of your journey, mate. I'm buzzing for it. And God bless you, brother.
Yeah, I'm really happy, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, big man.
Check out more of my podcasts on the right, and be sure to like, share and comment your thoughts on this week's podcast. Thank you.